In this video, I'm going to interview Troy Dean from WP Elevation, where we're going to talk about how to attract better clients, better projects, and better fees. Troy is the expert at training WordPress service providers on how to do these three very things. This is going to be the one interview that you do not want to miss. But before we get into it, hi, my name is Adam from WPCrafter.com, where I make WordPress tutorial videos for non-techies. If you're new here, consider clicking on the subscribe button, and if you don't want to miss a thing, click on that notification bell. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump right on into the interview. Hey everybody, I have Troy Dean here for an interview, and we're going to talk about some of the things that he's got going on. But I want to just give you a chance, Troy, to tell everybody about yourself.
Well, thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time coming. I feel we've been kind of stalking each other and following each other for a long time on the net here, and it's good to finally connect. So WP Elevation, we are an online business coaching program for WordPress consultants. Excuse me. My little boy gave me his head cold last week very kindly, so I'm a little
Don't
bit
they
out
have,
of
they have
voice
a way of doing that, the
Yeah,
kids, right? Not to
I can't
cut you
stop
off.
kissing him. That's my problem. Yeah, so we basically coach WordPress consultants through the process of turning their creative skills and their passion and their love of WordPress into a real business. And that's, you know, when it comes to getting clients and writing proposals and managing expectations, project management, cash flow, hiring a staff if that's what you want to do, just really building that business into something that is sustainable. And that's our background, and that's where we come from. And over the last 5 years, we've had the great honor of coaching thousands of people through the same process.
Well, you know, everywhere I actually turn on the internet, Troy, just so you know, I hear people before you used to have specific enrollment periods. Now it's pretty much open enrollment, but when you used to have these specific enrollment periods, you would hear people talking about WP Elevation, and everybody that spoke of it, when I would come across it, they were just saying how it made such a huge change in their business. You've really impacted a lot of people through WP Elevation. Do you know how many students you've actually had over the years, or actually what year did you start the WP Elevation program?
Yeah, so we started in 2013. It was a minimum viable product back then. It was just a membership website built on a optimized press theme. It was quick and dirty. We had about 55 students join in the first weekend that we opened. And we were just kind of teaching kind of the basics of what we knew about running a WordPress consulting business. And then in 2000, so since then, we've had about 3,500 people go through the training. In 2015, we closed the doors to our membership program, and we started a structured intake process that you were talking about. So we used to have 3 intakes a year. And by the end of by the middle of 2018, so we did that for 3 years. And then in June 2018, so about 6 months ago, we came to the realization that the intake model was exhausting for us as a company. And also we would spend like a month ramping up for this big launch. We would have a launch for 7 days, and then we would spend 3 months telling people to come back in 3 months' time. And it was crazy. It was like, this is nuts. We're basically closing the door on people's faces. So we made the decision to go what's called evergreen, which means we're basically open all year round now. People can join whenever they want to join. And that's definitely caused some headaches in the first 3 months. It was like, whoa, this is a completely different business model, very different way of managing people's expectations, and also a very different way of marketing. But we're definitely over those little hurdles now. We're back into our groove. We've found a sweet spot. And so, yeah, we've had about 3,500 people go through the training, and it's been, this was an idea that I had one afternoon, and I never would have imagined that it would have grown into what it is now. And the community is it's much larger than what I ever thought it would become. And it's quite rewarding and quite humbling to see how it's grown.
Well, and you see, right, with WordPress itself is just there's low barriers to entry. Anyone can maybe watch a YouTube video. I don't know. Learn how to install WordPress and learn how to install a theme and a template and change some things and say, here you go. I've got a new business. But you probably know the best that's really not it. There's actually a whole lot more to structuring a business than just saying, give me $1,000 and here's your website. There's a whole lot more to it. It's funny. We were talking, this is, for people viewing, Troy and I were just talking right before I clicked on record, and we were saying how having a WordPress business where you're providing WordPress related services, it could be the most amazing life choice for success, for revenue and income earning potential, but have it be extremely rewarding. But then it can also be the biggest nightmare on planet Earth. And I know for me, I've actually been on both sides of that spectrum, right? I've been on this is a nightmare. I do not want to wake up on Monday and, deal with these things. But then on the other side as well. There's a huge need for WP Elevation and what you are actually doing, how you're taking people that want to do this and you're turning and structuring and helping them in every way to do it. Like, I'm sure you get probably the most amazing success stories of with your students, huh?
Yeah, I think what happens is most of us end up in business by accident, right? So, we kind of realize that, this. I think you have this kind of innate love of the web and of beautiful design. I mean, before we jumped on this call, I was looking at this fantastic color palette generator called colormind.io, which is basically an AI color palette generator. I could spend days refreshing this page and looking at the absolute gorgeous color palettes that it generates. Right? So I think first of all, if you've got a love of design and you love how things look in the browser and you love interacting with websites, and then you discover WordPress and you realize that it's pretty, WordPress to me is like they say guitar is the easiest instrument to learn and the hardest to master. It's kind of how I feel about WordPress. It's fairly easy to spin up a WordPress website and start adding content. But then there's a very, very, very deep rabbit hole you can go down, and fortunately there's guys like yourself and Dave Foy around who are going to help us kind of understand the technical side of things. And so we end up with people going, oh, you know how to build a website? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you $500 to build a website. And you're like, oh, wow, cool. I can make some extra cash and I'm going to build a website for my friends and family. And then all of a sudden, if you're not careful, you end up in business by accident. You kind of end up having to send people invoices and and then you've got to manage expectations because people are paying you money, and then you've got to try and get content from clients. And this idea that, I can maybe quit my job and have this amazing lifestyle working from my laptop. And it is, believe me, it's an amazing lifestyle. Like I've traveled the world and I literally have worked from beaches in Thailand and Southeast Asia. I've worked from hotel rooms in Chicago. I've worked from co-working spaces in San Francisco. I've worked from a little hotel room in Leiden at WordCamp Europe. I've worked from a park bench in Amsterdam. I've worked from, all over the place, at the Philippines, all across North America. I've worked, driving around Tasmania in my car. I've pulled up the laptop and tethered off my phone to do some work. It's an amazing lifestyle that affords you all sorts of freedom and flexibility. But it very quickly can become overwhelming, and it can very quickly become, as you say, a headache, because you end up feeling responsible for so much stuff because the client's paying you. And if you're not careful, you realize that you're not actually making any profit. It's actually costing you money to build these websites at these price points. And so what started out as this very romantic kind of dream ends up becoming a freaking nightmare.
Romantic, right?
Yeah.
It's like that early relationship, right? Where like you're in that fantasy phase, right? And then the things start settling in, right?
Yeah, it's like everything I used to think about you that was charming now just annoys me, And we've had some amazing, one of the most gratifying parts of my job is the the posts that we get in our Facebook group, and also the personal emails that I receive from people who are, we've had wives who have built a business to become financially independent, to leave their husband who they've been wanting to leave for years, but they can't because they're financially dependent on them. We've had young couples quit their full-time job and take off on road trips. And, there's a young couple based in Colorado, Amber and Chris Hines, and they've got a company called Road Warrior Creative, and they basically renovated an RV in their front yard, and they take their kids out of school 3 months over summer, and they drive around the States and they work from this RV. That was one of their dreams. So when they joined the program, Chris was still working full-time. After a few months, he quit his full-time job. He now works from home with the business with his wife. They've got 3. They're living the dream, They're the most rewarding stories I get. Jasmine Andrews from Sydney, who's got 2 kids, one who's a high needs child, and she was building websites for $500 when she joined our program, and she realized that wasn't sustainable. She was going to go broke very quickly. She lay in bed for 3 months and pulled the quilt over her head because she couldn't figure out a way out of her situation. And she's now doing multiple 6 figures a year, just from and working from home so she can spend time with her kids. Just from repositioning and repackaging herself, basically doing the same work that she was doing before, but just with a bit more structure and a bit more process in place. So they are definitely, they're the reason that I get out of bed every day, to hear those kind of stories.
And I mean, I love hearing success stories of any program, and I'm sure that some of the things that the changes that doing things in a way that works versus a way that just doesn't work makes such a huge change in their life, just financially through freedom. I love that story about the folks that are getting to have their dream of traveling and doing the laptop lifestyle, because you really can. I mean, when you are building website related services, it's all via the phone or live chat or something along those lines, mostly communication. You don't have to be tied down or locked down to a certain spot. You can actually go and have some more of that freedom and flexibility in your life. But there's so many things that can go wrong along the way. What are some of those, maybe like one or two of the big things, just one of the big things that you see that it's like a big like pit that people fall in and they kind of get trapped in, and it holds them back?
Yeah. So I reckon the biggest problem that people come up against pretty quickly is scope creep. And for those that don't know what scope creep is, the situation is where, you start building a website for a client, you're halfway through, you start showing them some things in the browser, and all of a sudden they say, so where's the part where my customers can log in and have a look at their past orders and then click the reorder button? And you didn't even think you were building an e-commerce site. And so you feel like you've missed a whole bunch of meetings. You feel like, and what's happened is you actually have missed a whole bunch of meetings. The client has had a whole bunch of meetings either in their head with themselves or with their partner, with their wife, with their husband, with their business partner. They just haven't told you about the new developments that have been happening in their head. And so then you break out into a cold sweat because you realize you've quoted, whatever it is. Let's say you've quoted $3,000 to build this website, and now all of a sudden they want all this extra functionality that you then now have to have an awkward conversation with them about, well, I can do this, but it's going to take longer and it's going to cost more money. Now that's an extreme example, but I've seen a lot worse than that happen. And so that, I think, not managing clients' expectations from the start, not setting expectations from the start, and then not managing those expectations through the process is probably the biggest mistake that people come up against. And that's the one thing that will actually kill the profitability of your business more than anything. And it means that you can actually lose money on projects because you're just constantly playing catch up to try and keep the customer happy.
And that customer is taking away from the time that you need to spend with other customers to keep them happy. And it probably also just kind of crushes your enthusiasm about what you're doing. It kind of makes it probably whenever you're doing something and you're not getting compensated or paid for, you just kind of lose the interest in it, and you start to feel like, is this really what I want to do? So
Yeah.
what does it really boil down to? Is it really just in situations like that, is structuring things in a proper way, maybe proper contracts, or just following a proper process to when from the beginning to set up the right expectations all the way through?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Just to touch on that point, you do end up very quickly, you can end up in a place where you start questioning your own abilities and you start doubting yourself. And then you start having the conversation, which is like, oh, everyone's told me that I'll never be an entrepreneur, or that, being a business owner is really hard and I'm not cut out for it. And, you end up, the worst case scenario is that if you've quit your job and you're now doing this thing full time, that you're actually considering going back and getting a job. And I've had many, many, many of our members who have been at that point when they've joined our program. They're like, God, this is my last ditch effort. I'm about to throw in the towel and go and get a job. They've joined our program, and then what it is it's all about process. And the example that I use is, if you look at any service-based industry, so I'm gonna use restaurants, I'm going to use doctors, and I'm going to use car mechanics, right? Even a personal trainer. They're all providing services, which is what we're providing. We're not actually selling physical goods. We're providing a service. And that service is primarily based on our knowledge and our intellectual property and our experience. So if you look at those four examples, restaurant, doctor, car mechanic, and a personal trainer, the very first thing that happens when you walk in the door is, to a restaurant or a gym is someone will greet you. And the moment you walk in the door, you are in their process. So when you walk into a restaurant, you generally wait at the front to be seated. Maitre d' comes up and introduces themselves. Yes, you've got a booking here in the name of Adam. Yes, for 7 o'clock. No worries. Your table is ready. Come through, sit down at the table. There's water waiting for you on the table. They'll give you a moment. They'll come back. They'll take your drinks order. They'll go and get you some drinks. They'll bring you back a nice glass of wine. Then they'll start talking to you about food. They'll run through the specials. The chef might come out and explain some things. Nothing is left to chance, right? They are not going to give you an inch to start bossing them around, right?
Like, I don't walk in and say, I'm going to sit here usually, and you're going to make this for me, and you're actually so right there, huh?
Right.
Or if I went to a personal trainer and you're going to help me with my biceps today, and you're going to do this for me today. Right. It's so true.
Yeah, correct. Or you go to a motor mechanic and you pop the hood and you say, now listen here, buddy, what needs fixing is, this and this. You're like, no. That's, that's not, and here's the thing. Nobody ever gave the restaurant industry permission to craft such a refined, tight process. The reason they operate like that is because it's profitable. Restaurants have a number called table turn, right? So restaurants have a certain number of times they want to turn a table over on any given night, because that's how they make their profit. They don't want you, unless it's a degustation where you might be there for 4 hours, but you spend, $1,200 a head. That's a different business model. But the average restaurant, they don't want you sitting there for 3 hours because you're costing them money. They want to get you in. They want to ply with a couple of drinks. They want to serve you up some beautiful food, give you dessert, get you a coffee, and get you out the door. They want the next person to come in for that table. They want to turn that table around 2.5 times in a night, because that's how they make their profit, right? So their process is designed to maximize the profitability for the restaurant. And here's the thing. We had a cafe open up on the corner of our street recently. This place used to be a milk bar. It's been like just a kind of a rundown milk bar for years. And the owners, this Chinese family, have backed themselves and spent an absolute ton of money separating the milk bar into two businesses. They put a wall down the middle, and they've converted the half on the corner, which has these beautiful windows. They've converted that into a cafe. And I'm like, this is amazing. We have this beautiful cafe. It's literally like 2 steps from our house. And so I keep saying to all my neighbors, we have to go there and support them. Otherwise, they won't survive, right? Mm-hmm. So I want them to be profitable. And just touching on my point about the restaurants having to be profitable, because if a restaurant's not profitable, they will go out of business and they can't serve you anymore. And it's the same as a web designer, right? You have to be profitable. Otherwise, you can't continue to service your clients. So the point is, your processes, all of the processes in your business need to be designed to improve and increase the profitability of your little freelance venture or your agency or whatever kind of business you're running. Because if you're not profitable, you can't continue to serve your clients. So you kind of just got to get over however you feel about profit, you kind of got to get over that mindset and understand that you owe it to your customers to run a profitable business. And therefore, you've got to have processes in place that allow you to deliver your services and make a profit.
That's so true. That's so true. And so, one of the big things that I see, and I've seen it with some of the subscribers here on the channel, and I've just generally seen it, and I know you have too, is people way undercharging for the service that they're providing. And maybe you're charging $1,000 for a website, but not really considering all of the time you spend with conversations with the client, and because that's like one of the biggest things that eats up the time, right? That you have to spend with someone is just the client communication. What does it take to go from, instead of saying $1,000, it's $4,000, or it's going to be $5,000? Why? What is it that you see is holding people back from just saying it's going to be $5,000, sir, versus it's going to be $1,000?
Yeah. So this is a very interesting conversation. I'm glad you asked this question. This has nothing to do with WordPress. It has nothing to do with technology.
It doesn't, right? Yeah, it's just
it doesn't, right? But this is my favorite topic. Right. The truth is, I grew up in the northern suburbs of South Australia, right? Working class suburbs. No one in my family was in business. Like most kids who grew up in the sort of outer suburbs of Australia, and I'm guessing this is like most people who kind of grow up, in the Western world, is that, most human beings are born with a scarcity mentality kind of baked into our DNA, right? We're kind of, and this is a very weird conversation, but I think it's one that needs to happen. We kind of, my son's like 18 months old now, and I'm kind of watching him wake up. I'm watching him kind of take in the world, and I just keep apologizing to him. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. I know it's a weird place, and it's like, I can't explain it. There's so much weird stuff going on. I can't explain it, but it's all right. We'll figure it out. And you end up kind of on this planet, not knowing why you're here. But you know that you kind of have to fight for food, right? That's like the main things. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've got to fight to get food and shelter and protect yourself. So scarcity is kind of baked into our DNA. And our parents, my parents and their parents before them, the message that gets passed down is, well, money doesn't grow on trees, and, we're not rich, and, you have to work hard for your money, right? When I grew up, money was made of paper. So it actually did grow on trees, right? That's the irony. But the message that we got so much was money doesn't grow on trees, and, you have to go to school, work hard, go to uni, get a job, and then, fair days pay for a fair day's work, and then you retire and you die. And so I think what needs to happen, and certainly the work that I had to do on myself over about a 5-year period, when I first started building websites for about $1,200, and I scaled up to $25,000 it took me about 12 to 18 months to get to that point. And what changed was my belief. That's what changed. So I believed that I could only ever get paid $1,200 or $1,500 for a website. And when someone paid me $1,200 for a website, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Someone's just paid me $1,200 to build them a website. Until 6 weeks later, I was still building the same website. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I can't do this. There's no money in this. Like, there's no profit. This is taking me so long. What I realized is when you build a $25,000 website, it's basically the same amount of work as building a $1,500 website. It's just a different client that you're talking to. And the way to have those conversations with different clients is to change your belief about what it is you're worth. And so here's the big belief problem, I think, in the WordPress space, is that WordPress is free open source software. I can download it and install it on my server. It doesn't cost me a cent. The plugins are ridiculously cheap. The themes are ridiculously cheap. Like, for less than $200, I can have an amazing page builder, a great theme, a whole bunch of plugins. I can have a really powerful website that's only cost me $200. But it's what you forget is the time that it's taken you to learn how to put all that together. And so the mentality that is, well, I can't charge any more than, we get this all the time on our Facebook ads and our Facebook groups and all of our social posts. People coming in saying, oh, if you're charging any more than $1,500 for a WordPress website, you're ripping people off. And my argument is if I'm not charging 10 grand for a WordPress website living in Australia, I'm going to go broke real quick. I just can't survive charging people $5,000 for a website. It's just not sustainable in Australia. It's a very expensive country to live in. So it's a belief system. That's what needs to change, is that, you need to understand that just because WordPress is cheap, free, and the plugins are relatively cheap and the themes are cheap, doesn't mean that the end product that you're providing is worth less than $5,000 or $10,000. Your job as a consultant is to add value to the raw materials to design a finished product that is worth more than the sum of the parts, if that makes sense.
Well, and don't you actually see that played out in every area of life? So, for example, you could take two painters, and one of them has a lot of experience and has a little bit of notoriety, and he could charge 1,000,000 times literally more than the other guy. It's still the same canvas, it's still the same paint, but it's a different painter. Yeah. And, even the time that someone spends maybe watching a YouTube video learning how to do something, that is their investment that they're putting in, that they really do deserve a return on, because they're going to be able to provide a better solution. You're so right there. You're so right there. And I guess it also comes back to, I was thinking of this other analogy. I didn't, it's about value, and how do you communicate value? The other day I started going to this fitness place, and here in the US, you can join a gym. It's like $20 a month, right? And you can go there and they have some classes. But this place is 10 times more expensive per month. And, if you go in there not knowing, or maybe just thinking that other place is $20, so maybe this place is $30, not knowing that this is $200 per month, there's a difference in value that someone can get by going from one place to another, and helping people to see that value in it. Actually, how do you coach your students through that? Is it really just a matter of saying, well, actually, the irony is, 5 years ago, you didn't have that $200 a month place. You didn't have it. Maybe because everyone thought the most they could charge is the $20 or the $30 per month. You didn't have these $200 per month places, and now it's $1 billion a year in revenue business. What is it? Just a matter of saying, this is a $5,000 project, or is it like, what more goes into it?
Yeah, it's a great question. There are two parts to this, I think. I have a personal trainer who I see, and he charges $80 an hour, right? And I go and see him twice a week. I've been seeing him twice a week for about 8 years. And, there are two things that male executives who are around their 40s, there are two things that male executives in their 40s are scared of more than anything. One is email, and two is getting fat as they get older, right? So I keep saying to my personal trainer, dude, if you stopped selling personal training services for $80 an hour and packaged it up into a $10,000 body transformation, right? You'd sell the same thing, but give it a different position, a different package, target a particular audience. You target like the 38-year-old male executive who's working really hard, unhealthy lifestyle, eats too many carbs at lunch, drinks too much beer at night because he's stressed out from his job, not exercising, overwhelmed with email and incoming noise. You target him, right? He will pay you $10,000 for body transformation in a heartbeat, but he might not pay you $80 an hour for personal training services because he doesn't want personal training services. He wants to transform his body, right? There's a difference. So rule number one is understand what your customer wants. Don't assume what they want. Understand what your customer wants. And rule number two is have a process, have a roadmap that clearly articulates how you're going to get them there. So I know that WordPress consultants want better clients, they want to work on better projects, and they want to get paid better fees. So that's the thing that we talk about all the time. We can help you get better clients, work on better projects, and get paid better fees. That's what they want. They don't, if I start talking about, some of the IP that we've got in our program and some of the, the checklists and the templates, like their eyes are going to glaze over. They don't care. They're not interested in what it is I've got to offer. All they're interested in is how I can help them get what they want. So I talk about what they want. And then once I've got their attention, then I can show them a roadmap. I can show them a blueprint or a flow chart or some kind of, infographic, some kind of visual way of saying, this is how we're going to get you from where you are now to where you want to be, which is better clients, better projects, and better fees. So you can basically, earn more money, have a sustainable, profitable business that provides a nice lifestyle for you and your family, and not be stressed out because you're not dealing with clients who are dragging their feet on content and keep moving the scope halfway through the project. That's how we're going to get you from where you are now, which is chaos, to where you want to be, which is better clients, better projects, and better fees. So understand what your customer wants and then have a process to help them get there.
So what I hear you saying is, if someone says, I want a website, and you're saying, okay, here's a website, that's the wrong thing. You want to go towards the people that want that transformation, or maybe they don't want a website, they want to generate more leads for their business, and they're coming to you for that. They're not coming to you for saying, I want a website. They're coming to you and you've taken the time to understand what they really want that website for, what they really just want. Maybe a restaurant wants to be able to be like all the other ones and take orders on their website, and you've niched it down to provide that solution, things like that.
Yep, 100%. So we have a whole framework that we teach on one of our webinars called Go Wide, Go Deep. But essentially, it's the short version is, when someone says, I need a website, the very first thing you should ask is why they need a website, and then explore that in depth. Most people won't do this because sometimes it can be a little bit awkward, and it can be a little bit confronting and be a bit uncomfortable when you start asking a business owner why they want a website, because you're going to start uncovering some skeletons in the business, right? And that can be a little bit confronting. And most people just like, oh, I can't. Well, I'm not interested in what's going on over there. I just want to build your website, and here you go. And there's, a website for $1,500. But if you can get comfortable asking those uncomfortable questions, and you can get, like, when I was a child, I just asked why all the time. I still do it. I'm like, why? I need to understand what's going on. And so the more you ask why, the more you understand what's going on, the more you'll actually get to the truth. I'll give you an example. I was working with a client a few years ago who had a picture framing shop, and they needed a new website. And so I had a conversation with them on the phone, and then I eventually flew to Adelaide to visit my family, which is where they were. And I went and visited them in their picture framing shop. And I was having a conversation with the husband and wife who owned the shop. And I was just asking all these questions about, why do you do this? And why do you do this? And the husband was a little bit like, oh man, you're asking a lot of questions, And there were some things that he didn't want to admit that were going on in the business. His wife eventually said to me, listen, we've owned this, it's a 7-day-a-week business. We've owned this business for 25 years. We've been working 7 days a week for 25 years. We want to go back to Croatia and visit our family. We haven't had a holiday in 25 years. So we want to employ a manager to run the shop so that we can take some time off, go visit our family in Croatia. And I'm like, right, so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm in your shop right now. I'm not here to build a website. I'm here to help you grow your business so you can employ a manager and have a holiday, go visit your family in Croatia. That's what's really going on. Get your life back.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So there are stories like that everywhere. You just got to ask the right questions. And if you can uncover, the truth of what's really going on and provide them a really good solution to help them with, the truth, then you'll get paid more money. It's as simple as that. I mean, because you have a bigger impact. Like, there's a direct correlation between how much you help people and how much you impact their lives and how much money they put in your bank account. So if you want to make more money, just have a greater impact and help people more.
And they're probably at that point thrilled to pay you. I was actually in I think it was your Facebook group. I was in there. Members of WP Elevation can join the Facebook group, and so I was in there, and someone was saying how a client contacted them and said, "We don't pay you enough. Here's 20% raise for you because we want you to do so well." I mean, that's I guess the kind of client everybody wants, right? Where they're like, "Here you go. Correct. Here's a raise. You don't even have to ask. Here it is."
That's right. I got two great examples of two of our members. I'm super proud of these guys. Victor Ramirez, who has been in our program for years, he gets most of his leads from Upwork, right? And everyone's like, Upwork, you got to be kidding me. Like, that's a race to the bottom. It's so competitive on price. Victor has been so successful getting people off Upwork and turning them into ongoing long-term clients. Upwork put his photo on a billboard in Times Square in New York City as a case study of Upwork, right? Another one of our members, Jamie, is so successful at getting clients off Upwork. One of his biggest long-term clients he got from Upwork. They just sent him and his wife to their penthouse apartment in Mexico, fully paid for a week, food, flights, accommodation, alcohol, everything fully paid, as a way of thanking him how much he's a consultant, not just a freelancer for hire.
Wow. Those are great stories, and I'm sure without the program and structuring and positioning it and selling things in the right way, selling their services the right way, that just wouldn't be the case. That just wouldn't be the case. Yeah. That kind of an impact, Yeah,
and so, it's, sales is.
Oh no.
So I was just going to say, sales is one of those things that eludes a lot of people and kind of freaks a lot of people out, and myself included. Like, I don't like selling, but I really like helping people make an informed decision about the right path to take. And so, sales is just really simply about asking lots of questions and listening, and then helping someone choose the right path. I think of like those Choose Your Adventure books that you had when you were a kid, and you could kind of choose to achieve their outcome, or if they want to try and keep doing it themselves.
Well, I love hearing these stories about your students and the success and impact that you have been having. But one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on today is because you have a live event coming up, in-person live event. It's not watching videos and communicating over Facebook. It is live. You also have some special guests coming there, and I wanted to bring you on so we could talk about that. So why don't you tell us about this live event and what people can expect to learn at this live event?
Yeah, so, live events are like the most fun thing that we do, and we run them quite regularly. We've been doing this since 2012. We started in Thailand. We're running our next live event in Santa Monica in California. It's on Saturday, the 16th of February, 2019. It's called WP Elevation Live, and it's for WordPress consultants or anyone who's providing digital marketing services around WordPress, who really wants to take their business to the next level. Some of the things that we're going to be covering, the sort of the four main areas that we're going to be covering is premium positioning. So positioning yourself as a premium consultant, a super simple sales system for actually generating more customers so that you can get paid more for the work that you're doing. We're going to basically give members a complete swipe of our operations playbook and how we build processes here in our business and how we've managed to grow our team. And then we're also going to talk about productizing, so how you take your services and turn them into a product, which is the way really to scale a business and to make it super profitable. We have some amazing speakers coming out to this event, including yourself, Adam.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to actually meet you in real life. It's going to be awesome. So you're coming out. Myself and Simon Kelly are coming out from Australia. Chris Lemmer is coming up from Southern California as well. He needs no introduction. He's currently the Vice President of Products and Innovation at Liquid Web, but he's very well known in the WordPress space. And also Dana Malstaff, who is Boss Mom. She's got a podcast called Boss Mom. She's a work from home mom. She built Boss Mom into a six-figure brand in less than a year. We're going to talk a lot with her about partnering with potential joint venture partners, and also how to use content to grow and how to position yourself to grow an audience. So super excited about the speakers. It's a one-day event. It's in the beautiful Shore Hotel in Santa Monica, right on Santa Monica Beach. It's from 9 until 5, and then we have a VIP dinner afterwards for those people who take the VIP ticket.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm totally, I got to say, for me, going to live events is one of the things that I want to focus on next year. Not in the sense of speaking at a live event, but just attending live events. There's just so much value that it comes out of going, talking to your peers, making those connections that can make a huge impact and difference in your business. Not to mention going to an event that actually has some perfectly targeted content and expertise that can make all the difference in your business. I mean, make a huge impact in your business. And so I wanted to let everybody know on this channel, I'm going to be there. I'll have a link in the video description box down below, but I'm going to be there. And I want to see you. If you are running a WordPress related services business, that's going to be the place to be on February 16th, right? I think I have that encoded in my head. I already told my wife I'm going to be gone that weekend.
That's it. Saturday, February 16th. And we do have early bird pricing, which runs out in about 2 weeks, I think. So make sure you get hold of early bird pricing while you can. It expires in 13 days and 23 hours. So about 2 weeks time.
And you have people that are flying out, even though this is in Southern California, you have a lot of people flying out to this event because we have LAX right nearby. Where are some of the people flying in from?
That's right. Yeah, we've got a bunch of people coming from Australia. We have people flying in from the Netherlands and the UK. We have people flying in from the East Coast of the States. Yeah, so it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And also, Troy built his checkout form using cart flows, but that's besides the point. He's one of our cart flows customers, which we're thrilled about. We're running out of time. I wanted to ask you one more question for the people that are on the channel that are, making their plans for the next year with their WordPress product related business. What would be the one best piece of advice that you could give them to attract, we might have actually already covered this, but attract that right type of client that they want? Or what's the one thing that they could do in their business that would make the greatest impact and difference?
It's a good question. And this is an exercise that I resisted for a long time because I thought it was rubbish. I thought it wouldn't make a difference to my business. And the moment that we did this exercise, everything changed. It's a very simple exercise. It's called the sweet spot. So there's kind of really two parts to this. Is the sweet spot is, what you're most passionate about and what you're best at. So for example, I love e-commerce, but I'm really bad at e-commerce. Like, I do not let me near. I mean, this, right? We have the conversation.
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, I'm really bad with WooCommerce, right? I love WooCommerce, but I'm really bad at it. So I just shouldn't touch it. I just should not be involved because I don't even know how to configure coupons correctly, as you know. And I must say, you were extremely generous in your time helping me out over the Christmas period because I'm just a rookie when it comes to WooCommerce. But I love it. So, but therefore, it's not in my sweet spot. So I don't spend a lot of time doing WooCommerce because I break stuff. I'm really good with lead gen. I'm really great with lead gen and conversion rate optimization. And I also love working with nonprofits. So that's kind of my sweet spot, is working with nonprofits to raise awareness, generate more leads for their donor database or for their campaigns. And I've had a lot of success in that space. The success has come in the past because I'm doing good work and I really enjoy it. And so I'm energized. I actually go home at the end of the day and I've got more energy than when I came to work. So really think about what you're best at and what you're passionate about, and just stop doing everything else. So if you don't like it, don't do it. If you find it, I'm good at SEO, but I don't like it because I find it really monotonous and really time consuming and repetitive. So I don't do it anymore. Even though I could do it and make more money doing it, I just choose not to because I don't enjoy it. So work out what your sweet spot is. And then the simple question is, who stands to benefit the most from you working in your sweet spot? If you've got a bunch of clients who really need SEO and you don't like doing SEO, then you've got to have a conversation with yourself about whether or not they're the right type of client for you. For me, nonprofits who want to grow their database of potential donors, that's the sweet spot for me. They're my perfect client. They've generally got a budget. They've generally they've got their act together. They've got resources in-house. They've got a marketing team. They just need some skills to help and some strategy to help them grow their reach. And so they're the type of clients that I have the most success with. So it's a kind of a variation of niching down. specializing. You know, Zig Ziglar said it's best to be a meaningful specific than a wandering generality. And it's so true. If you can work out what you are best at and who stands to benefit the most from working with you, and then just focus on those clients and try and ignore everyone else. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to say no to other work that comes in the door, but just try and focus your efforts on being in your sweet spot, because that's where you'll add the most value to clients, and hence that's where you'll get paid the most because you're adding the most value.
I love that piece of advice. The only thing I would tack onto it is some of those business related things that you don't enjoy doing. Just hire someone, you know, so you can stay, you can fully, well, that goes in it, you know, you can hire someone for that. And, you know, some of the services that you don't excel in, you can maybe not take that work or pass that work off or something like that. I know it's one of the things I'm working on is same thing that you just said, the sweet spot, my sweet spot. You see, I'm learning here, everybody, we're all learning together from Troy. But for me, I like clicking on record. I think it's where I make my greatest impact. I click on record and then I click on stop, and that's it. And everything else, if I could just have someone else do that, I would be able to have a greater impact and also have more enjoyment out of life. And that's essentially what you just said, right? To find that sweet spot where you excel and also where you enjoy operating the most, and stay there. That's true. 100%. I know we're wrapping this up, but it's like, you know, when you take that project where you know that's not what you're experienced in or you're interested in. It's just like a nightmare. You know, you're hating life. You're regretting saying yes, right? And then it really costs you money, because then you end up having to go hire someone to fix what you said you would do in the first place. And then you just, anyways.
My first e-commerce project was like that. Exactly. It cost me more to get a guy in New Zealand to fix it than I was actually getting paid for the job. I'm like,
Yeah, so that's what WP Elevation does. The program is designed to help you avoid these pitfalls that everyone that's flying solo goes into and gets into, all these like traps, and to avoid all those traps. Now, if someone wants to learn more about WP Elevation, what's the best way to go about doing that?
So we have a webinar that we run every week, and you'll put a link near this video for that webinar. Just jump on that webinar. We kind of walk you through, you know, some of the most. First of all, we walk you through the opportunity of why now is a fantastic time to be a WordPress consultant. We were talking off camera before, like if we were starting a web design business now, man, we would just absolutely crush it, because the technology that's available now just didn't exist in 2007 when I was starting out. So now is a great time to be a WordPress consultant. It's super competitive though, so you've got to differentiate. You've got to figure out how you stand out, and you've got to have processes in place. And so we walk you through that kind of journey of what it looks like to be a WordPress consultant, some of the problems that you're going to have, some of the pitfalls, and then how you can overcome those pitfalls. And then we basically outline exactly how we work. So if people want to go further and work with us, that's awesome. If not, then you know you're totally going to learn a whole bunch of cool stuff on that webinar that you can start to implement yourself anyway.
That's awesome. It's awesome that you provide that resource out there, that webinar. So yes, I'll have a link down below for anyone, or you could just visit WPCrafter.com/WP Elevation. Super easy to remember. It'll take you right on over to that webinar. You can register and check that out and see what WP Elevation is all about, but also learn these areas that are going to be covered in there. Just like this video having you on here has been fantastic. You know what I mean? I've learned a lot. I'm sure a lot of people that are going to watch this have benefited a lot. Troy, we're running out of time. We're actually out of time. We're not running out of time. We're out of time. I want to have you back a little more consistent. So this is the first time I've had you here, and I'm already asking to have you back. I'd like to have you back.
I'd love to, man.
Maybe like late February, just we'll talk about the event. And I really want to embed you a little bit more on what's going on here in the channel, because we have a lot of website developers and people that really want to productize, systematize their business and do their business in a better way. I'd love to keep having you back, not just once, but keep having you back because of the value you bring. But hey,
anytime,
thanks for
Adam. I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're coming back. I'm gonna twist your arm. I'll sign him to a contract on at the live event to get you keep on coming back. But I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're sick, but no one could tell. I know you were not feeling the best. So thanks for coming on, and I'll see you and everybody else that comes to the event. I'll have the link down below. I'll see you guys at the event, and you'll get to meet Troy as well. And we'll have you back, Troy, in just a few months here. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Well, you made it to the end of the interview with Troy Dean. Wasn't that awesome? I'm so glad that he took the time out of his schedule to come and share his knowledge with all of us. Now, there's definitely more. If you want it, you could visit WPCrafter.com/WP Elevation, and it will take you on over to his webinar registration page if you want to further your knowledge on how to attract better clients, better projects, and better fees. Now, if you do go through that link and register and sign up for the WP Elevation training program, just shoot me a copy of your email and I'll help you accelerate while he helps you elevate. I'll help you accelerate with some of my training courses that I'd like to give you as a special thank you when you do that through the link there. So that was WPCrafter.com/WP Elevation, one word. I'll also have a link in the video description box down below. Hey, if you have any questions for Troy, go ahead and ask them in the comment section down below, and I'll make sure the next time I have him on to ask him those very questions. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.